But let's just get right into this. Back in the early 90s, Exene Cervenka from the band Knitters and X put out a solo album called Old Wives' Tale, which to me was the best, maybe to this day still, the best folk album ever. But she had a song on there called Good Luck, and it was about an artist who commits suicide on his birthday. And the hook of the song, the main chorus is, "You can't make a living dying." And it become like my inner affirmation, my inner solo, my inner thing I would say to myself, no matter how bad things got. It's like, you can't make a living dying. You have to get back up on that horse. You have to keep going. And, it's tax season. Trust me, I've said it, I've repeated myself over and over and over. It's probably not going to be pretty. You change jobs, and they give you a big chunk of money for your vacation pay, and you realize they didn't take taxes out of it. And you're like, holy crap, how did I miss that? Anyway. Every year, as long as I remember, since I was a kid, since I was a teenager, every year there's been a new bunch of comedians on Saturday Night Live, a new bunch of writers. And every year, Saturday Night Live, they will say, Saturday Night Live is dying. It's in its death spiral. This is the last good Saturday Night Live. And, I got to see Belushi, Chevy Chase, Eddie Murphy, Dennis Miller. I've seen all those people when it was current. I grew up watching Saturday Night Live. It was the one thing I did as a teenager, that would stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live, because it was funny. It was really good comedy. But I don't believe that any of those comedians, and this is a controversial thing to say, I don't think any of those comedians could survive today's, it was proven, Eddie Murphy can't survive it. None of the comedians can survive today's culture. It's changed. The comedic culture, the current entertainment culture has changed. And saying that, every year, every time the Harley puts out a new model, new color, new motor, stock drops, there's biker journalists all over social media that jumps out of the woodwork saying this is the last year for Harley Davidson. They're in their death spiral. Oh my God, they're not going to survive this. They spent too much money in the 90s. And while I'm very critical of the decisions they made in the 90s, they are still in business today. And whether you like the old CEO or the current CEO that's stepping down or not, you have to say they're still in business. There's lots of things to be critical about it, but also, you have to step back and look at this objectively. And this is the exercise that I've been doing for like 2 weeks here, taking notes on this. The ideal started when I seen that video that's going around social media of the guy that bought the new Lowrider ST, the blue one with the blue and chrome. And the dealership had put too much oil in it. The prep kid put too much oil in it, and it blew white smoke. And there's all kinds of videos of him revving it up and white smoke rolling out of it. And of course, people come out of and he only had 25 miles on it. He drove it home, and this had happened. And you have all these people coming out of the woodwork in the comment sections of this video of, you should get a new bike. The factory's been going downhill since the Evo. Did they supply you with a rental? Harley won't last another year. Or their quality control is awful. Harley can never get technology right. And all those statements could be argued. Harley's probably been more technologically advanced, considering that they're using a 45-degree V-trim, V-twin model that was probably sketched out on the bar napkin in Milwaukee. They've been very technologically advanced. The fact that they can compete in modern traffic and handle like they do, excuse me, is crazy. But can you imagine trying to be an engineer or a marketer or the CEO of a business that has to deal with these customers? Because these ain't the same customers they had in the late 70s and early 80s and 90s. These are a totally different customer base. Maybe they brought it upon themselves, but they did survive. But this is a different customer base. They're more Starbucks than White Castles. They go to work a little later than you do. They don't go to the gas station and get 5-hour energy drinks. But can you imagine? And like I said, they bring it upon themselves. But can you imagine that you're the dealer and you have to deal with this customer base, and you're not dealing with a customer base that is a lot more lenient? Would these customers survive the AMF years, or even the beginning of the Evo years? I remember when the Evo first came out, and the people worried about the base gasket weeping, and it wasn't even like oil. It was like a film. Like you could take your finger and like rub around it, and you get just like a slight film. And it's like the bike's running. It's not losing compression. That's not really an issue, but people freaked out, and I mean that was a change in the customer base. Um, don't get me wrong. I'm not defending the factory. You know, I have a couple friends that have Pan Americans. I had a Buell. I understand there's legitimate things, but I also worked at a Ford dealership for 26 years, and I saw insane customers. And out of that 26 years, I might have seen 3 or 4 vehicles that were really problems, that really had problems. And I mean, granted, there was the 6.0 diesel problems. That was a problem all itself, but except, in the Ford Taurus transmissions. But all in all, there's the fact that something's mass produced and put in a truck and shipped to a dealer and then dealer prepped. This process works pretty good. Um, I also I've been following the Cruzy Original Sportster build, and I don't know if you guys have been watching it because maybe it don't interest you, but I find it very interesting because it's the replacement of the Sportster. And while there's a ton of Evo Sportsters out there, and people quit buying them, maybe because Harley Davidson kept lowering them, and then in order to make them function, you had to raise them back up 2 feet. But the new Sportster has a little more potential. It starts out with a little more horsepower. All in all, as far as the inflation goes, it's still reasonably priced. I still think it could have went down $2,000 more. But if they price it too low, then anybody's bought one prior, their value went down dramatically. So those economics have to be careful. But Cruzy Original's been building parts for the new Sportster, A, to make them more aesthetically cool, and B, making them functional. Making them like, he specializes in stunt bikes and drifting bikes and bikes that get beat to death. And there's only so many more Dynas that can be thrashed. So this is a good replacement. And you would have to spend, buy a Dyna and spend probably more money than you would buy the Sportster, new Sportster, and put the same amount of money in. Those same parts also can be, probably added to it. And like, it's only a matter of time before somebody makes a FXRT style fairing for the Sportster, or a bracket to put the Amazon fairing on it, and make a good sport touring bike out of. I don't really recommend the Viking bags, and I'll get into that in a later episode, because I have a friend that had Viking bags and had a bad experience with them. But you can put like the Pelican bags. What are they? 1310s? 1320s or something like that? 1320s? I don't know, 1360s. There's some kind of Pelican bag top opening, and you make your own brackets, and you would have a good little sport touring bike with a Sportster. I don't know what the gas range on it is, but if you're within 100 miles a day, which I am, it probably would be a decent sport touring. This thing here is a little better because it's got a bigger gas tank and it's set up for me. I am planning on putting floorboards on it. The Amazon, there's a set of Amazon brackets and all, the whole 9 yards. I wish it wasn't from Amazon. I wish it was from an American supplier, but that's what there is. And I'm not going on eBay and piecing stuff together, because I tried to piece the stuff together on eBay and it was like $1,500. I'm like, I might as well buy the stuff new. But anyway, back to the Ryan Cruzy thing. He posted, after he got that one built, and he's got a slip-on it, a Stadelman seat, some risers and bars, and maybe a slight tune. I don't even know. But he was anyway posting pictures of him doing burnouts and wheelies, and the video went viral on Facebook, and I seen lots of people commenting, and it was like these old graybeards. And one guy was like, "This is a total boomer thing." It went right through me. He says, "That's bad for your brand. You're ruining your brand." And I'm thinking, do you even watch Cruzy Originals? Because his brand is high performance Harleys that does stunt stuff and drift stuff, and this is a high performance Harley, and he's building parts for it, and this is the next generation of people. The next generation is going to be buying this bike. They're not buying this bike. They're not buying road glides and street glides. Sorry to say, I know that's where Harley's bread and butter is, but you also have to look at the next customer base. The younger generation is part of the hustle gig, side gig generation. They're expected to have multiple jobs. They're expected to have roommates well into past adulthood, until they're married and have a 2 income that can rent an apartment. The vehicles they have to buy are disposable at best and expensive and disposable. I mean, if you looked at, what you would have spent on I'm sure you all have, your commuter vehicles, the price of commuter vehicles. I recently realized that I probably need a small truck because of, hauling stuff and moving stuff and throwing stuff away. And the Camaro is not a great vehicle for that. I need to bring my bicycles from the farm up to the city so me and my daughter, when she visits, we can go for a ride. And the Camaro can get it. And I'm thinking, I just need to get a little small SUV or a small used truck that I can haul me and hers bicycles around easy. And the prices are crazy. Like high mile, 100,000 mile vehicle, still $25,000. And I'm thinking, what if I was a young person and was making $25 an hour at best, and this is what I have to rely on for income, and how many side gigs do I have to operate that? And these are the kids that Harley Davidson has to market a motorcycle to. And these are the kids that the boomers and Generation X openly hate. So how do you market to these kids? When you walk into a dealership and you have salesmen that have been dealing with boomers and Generation X people and Leonard Skinner types, and I say that in the most endearing way, how do you deal with the modern kids? How are you going to market to the kids that know they have zero chance of retirement? They're expected to operate until they die. And that's also one of the problems with the dealership. That's a problem with the dealership that the corporation hasn't addressed. There's a lack of consistency in dealerships. Every dealership I go to has a different mood, and a lot of times they I don't know. When I had the Buell, they treated the Buell like it was a Hugo. And I thought that I was doing the factory, not just that I was interested in sport bikes, because I could have went and bought any sport bikes cheaper than the Buell. I really wanted a KTM Duke, but there was one dealer that was far away, and he was like the Ferrari dealer. He didn't care if you bought or not. They just wanted them Dukes sitting on the floor. And I bought the Buell thinking, I'm going to support the company moving something forward, and I'm interested in sport bikes. But, one dealer was excited about it. The rest of them were like, yeah, kid, fuck off. You're a new kid. And I'm like, I've been riding a lot longer than you kids have. And it's probably the same way now. It probably hasn't gotten any better. And dealerships still treat customers walking in like it's 1995. Like they don't need you as a customer, you need them. And that's not an attitude that works anymore. Granted, other motorcycle dealerships, like all the motorcycle dealerships, all the other brands, is awful, just awful. They just like I feel like they've given up on motorcycles. And that's a whole other thing that I wish the Harley Davidson dealerships and the corporation treated motorcycles like they were commuter vehicles. These kids buying commuter vehicles. They're not buying this weekend thing. These kids ain't buying Sportsters to go on hog runs on the weekends and bike nights. They're buying commuter vehicles, and they want saddlebags, and they want ergonomics that work right out of the factory, seats that work right out of the factory, good headlights that shine the light so they don't hit a deer and ruin their life and everything else. This is the thing, they might wind up doing Uber Eats with their motorcycle. They might get a rack and, deliver packages to Amazon. You never know. These kids when they buy a small vehicle, a compact vehicle, you got to imagine they're buying that vehicle and it's going to have to pay for itself. They're probably going to get a job at Amazon on the weekends and their days off to deliver packages. Make them a couple $100 a day if they're lucky. Might pay for the vehicle. So Harley Davidson and the dealerships have to start thinking about commuting using a vehicle like its design. The new Sportster can probably take 100,000 miles. We don't know yet, but it probably can. Let's find out. Don't, find young builders or find young commuters. Find some motovloggers that commute and put them on a Sportster, and let's see what they have to say. Don't give it to some, well-established motovlogger who feels like it's going to ruin his image. No offense to the motovloggers, but literally, I can see that happening if you have him the Sportster. They're like, yeah, that's not going to fit the direction of my channel. I get it, but they have to build commuter vehicles. Even the touring bikes, they have to be better set up for commuting. And the gear, the gear is like I've went over this before. The gear is just not set up. The only thing they have that I think is worth a crap at all is the rain suits, and I have one of the rain suits, and it is good. And I'm thinking, take the quality of that rain suit and apply that to all the things. Get rid of the HJC helmets. There's you don't need your own brand helmet. If anything, you get like Simpson or a Shoei, something that's serious, something that shows you're serious. I really like the Simpsons now. I haven't tried the modular yet. I really am interested in modular. I'm very interested in the carbon, but I imagine it's probably loud. My Shoei modular is loud, um, which is that with this windshield on this is probably making it tough to be a motovlogger these days. Kids these days can't afford to buy what they don't want. They can't afford to buy something and put a new seat, a new handlebars, and that stuff has to be options that you can either include in the loan or options like I think Indian has a deal where if you don't like the risers on your Sport Chief, they will exchange it out for a different taller set of risers. There's no reason Harley Davidson could do that. They're in such a better position to do it than Indian. Um, but anyway, imagine you're the CEO. You're the CEO of this company or the future CEO of this company, and you have to market for customers for the next 2 years, the next 5 years, and you have to think out farther. That you want this business to stay in business for the next CEO that takes over from you in 10 years. What direction do you have? I really like the Pan American a lot. They made a sport touring version of it, and I think that everybody that has Pan Americans probably already has that. Um, I don't live in an area. Well, so I could take the KAT, the Kentucky Adventure Touring thing, but it really is more of an off-road thing than I think the Pan America really is for. I wish I lived farther out west. I remember going through Colorado and northern New Mexico and seeing these miles of dirt roads. And I'm thinking, man, if I lived out there, I would be on a Pan America. But the Pan American needs to be have like its own section in a dealership with a section for adventure gear. And Harley Davidson needs to, go in business with Aristitch maybe, or First MFG, or Indy Ridge. These are real gear. It has to be serious. You have to treat these things like they're serious, like there's not novelties, like it's not made for Sunday afternoon on a 150-mile local run. These have to be serious bikes. The Pan American will probably make a great commuter bike, especially with the big aluminum bags. I don't know if you guys seen uh, that Michael Lichter, the photographer for Easy Riders magazine, put SW Mototech bags on his Lowrider ST, and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that. And then until I priced the price of bags of for SW Mototech bags, I'm like, oh shit, but I still like them. But I think to myself, that would really add the commuting value to my bike dramatically, and it's probably something that if I don't get beat up on taxes too badly this weekend, it might be something that I go for in the future. You got to imagine the CEO has a bigger, he probably has, I'm kind of curious about the committee, the culture, the culture inside the Milwaukee plant as far as the executives go to making the decisions. Do they understand their clientele? Do they really understand who their clientele is? Do they understand who their customer base is for the next 5 years? I've got 3 kids that are in adulthood and 1 kid that's 14 who will be in adulthood in a couple years. My youngest son's 19 and he wants a Pan American. He likes the Pan America. He's 6'3". He would probably be too big for the Sportster, but he really likes the Pan American. He asked me, he said, Dad, I want you to teach me how to ride my motorcycle. Granted, it scares me. It's like so many little things you think about, but that's beyond the point. The point is that he has a decent job, just decent. But it's like, I don't know that he can afford to have his vehicle, pay his insurance, pay me rent, and own a motorcycle too, because inflation. And while Harley Davidson's not responsible for inflation, they have to operate within those parameters. And you got the CEO who has to market motorcycles, at least in the next 2 to 5 years, to these people. And granted, these people's job skills might go up. Maybe the inflation will get better. It hasn't, but maybe it'll get better. Because I don't know, I'm 60. How many more bikes am I going to buy? I said to myself, this is going to be the last bike I buy. I'm gonna put floorboards on it, maybe the aluminum panniers, and this is it. It's it's not heavy. It does what I needed to do, and with a different seat, it'd be a good passenger vehicle as well. Which right now that's currently not an issue, but I'm just saying. Um, do I miss my bagger? Absolutely. Do I think people my age or older are going to buy baggers? Yeah, maybe a couple of them, maybe a couple of them. But for the most part, I think that my generation are done buying motorcycles. We might buy novelty stuff. Like I've been wanting a Jack Pine racer forever, and I follow Billy Lane on YouTube and Chopper Inc. on Instagram, and I'm really, it's a story for a whole different day, but I'll give it into it a little bit. Before my daughter was born, I was collecting parts to build a bunch of Jack Pine racers, Indian Scout 101s, Flathead 45s. I collected, like, for years, I collected boxes and boxes of parts. Is that the crow or is that stupid mockingbird? Anyway, I'd been collecting parts, and I had frames, motors, tanks, and fenders, and I was going to build like 10 Jack Pine racers. And my ideal, this was going to be my retirement plan, was I was going to get a car trailer, put 10 Jack Pine racers on it with a van, and I was going to find different routes around the country and have this thing where you and your 10 buddies could rent my bikes from me, and we would go on an adventure, camping only, crude tents, crude tool set on every bike that, you got to keep these things running and camp out. And, I would supply the food and beer, stuff like that, like this adventure thing with Jack Pine racers. Then my daughter was born, and the company I work for didn't have maternity insurance. I was the only person that worked there that had kids, and they had since got rid of the maternity insurance. So, needless to say, 3 days in the hospital having a baby cost a lot of money, and I had one asset that I could get rid of to pay that hospital bill, which I did. And I was, just one of the things like, yeah, I got a daughter out of the deal, and I don't care. I would never hold that against her. I love my daughter so much; it's not funny. She's like such a strong, and changed your life so much. But um, now that I'm older, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll build my own just for me, my own Jack Pine racer that I could do my own adventure on, my own crude camping, and have my own fun, or maybe two of them, so me and whoever could go riding. So, like I said, maybe the Harley dealership needs to get in touch with Billy Lane. Billy Lane probably understands the economy of young people. He's got young kids himself. He probably understands the economy of young people better than most established bike builders, given his circumstances. And I mean that in the most loving way, because I love Billy to death. His videos are amazing, and he has a really calm, Zen-like way of talking, which is like, I can relate to this guy because we're both in the same economic situation, and he's not, he don't have a bunch of sponsors jumping on his back to give him parts, or if he is, he's not rubbing it in. I think he's just, anyway. Saying that, the CEO has to deal with guys like me, the guys who come in and want to buy gear. I want to buy gear for my motorcycle. Could I get the Pan America aluminum bags to put on this? I don't know. Maybe I'll have to do some measuring. Do they have some laying around? I don't know. Do they have to sell them? Would they sell them as a kit to fit lowrider STs like Michael Lichter has on his? These are things that CEOs, these sound like minor things, but these are the things that keep customers coming back. This is to say, as I'm serious. And I think forever the CEOs have treated it like a recreational vehicle, as weekend luxury item to have to put in your den. And it's a valid mode of transportation. It is a very valid mode of transportation. And if the CEOs don't treat it like that and treat the customers that are buying it, the future customers buying it like that, then I do believe that your time is not as limited. I don't believe that. I believe we're going into a functional recession. I think people are like, I'll tell you what, no matter what the government is, I have to be functional. I have to, like, more and more people I know are canning. Like, I see more and more friends of mine are growing gardens, even small gardens. And I got a little small backyard. Anybody follows me on Instagram sees how small my backyard is. And I'm thinking about putting me a little small garden backyard, just like a, box of get some wood and build myself a raised bed. I know this is going to be like 2 hour long video. Let's see, where was I? Dickies, really? Dickies of all company, not Duluth. You chose Dickies. Harley Davidson. That right there shows you Dickies. Where the quality of the Dickies stuff went downhill dramatically. Where Duluth went the opposite route. Duluth says we make a product for people that work, and they always have, and they stuck by that. My son just bought 2 new pair of Duluth pants. Came in the mail, and he was like, "Dad, I ordered them this morning, and they came in the mail today." I'm like, well, that's what happens. But they're such high quality, and I have, like, you can't see it, but I wear Duluth pants, pretty much exclusively. They're just hardy as can be. And maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe my answers sound very practical and logical and maybe on the spectrum a little bit. But I don't think that the direction of treating it like it's entertainment or that it's for this invisible, this fantasy dream of camping in the like it's a beer commercial, like it's a state parks commercial, is the answer either. And maybe it's a little bit in between, because I think when you do buy a motorcycle, you do dream of these crazy wild trips, the wild weekend, the unforgettable summer, the endless summer. Maybe it'll inspire people to get out of the corporate world and become the the journalists, the social media journalists, the next writer, the next inspire, the next influencer, who, as much as I hate that word. I care about the factory dramatically because I have kids. And at one point, I probably didn't care so much. Hey, let you fail, the aftermarket will be there. But now I got kids, and I got kids that are interested in riding, and my youngest daughter's interested in riding, and I'm looking forward to summer. I got her a helmet that fits her, and I'm gonna get her some good gear to wear. And, like, can I go to the Harley dealership and get that gear? Probably not. I want her to be safe. You think about your 14-year-old daughter riding on the back of your motorcycle with you. It's a very scary thing to do, and she's going to want a motorcycle, and she's 14. So, say she's 18, 4 years from now, she's going to want a motorcycle. Is the factory going to be there, or am I going to have to go buy her a Honda Rebel 500 or whatever is out there? So she's tall. So just saying, factory. The Sportster is fine. On that note, this has been a long run-on video that I've shot like 3 times already, and I appreciate you guys standing by me. I appreciate you guys supporting me, and I know these long videos don't get as much airplay as the shorter videos. I'll try to do better. No, I won't.